All right, we're joining. I hope you like Steely Dan. Hope you don't mind. Hope you don't mind. We got to go back and do it again. Let's hope we don't have to go back and do it again, everyone. I'll just kind of say hi for a while. My name is Mike O'Neill. You'll discover a few things about me. I've got the chat window open. I have a friend, Laura Brandt, who's going to be looking at the chat window for a while. I'm not sure she can join us for the whole time, but if you've got some questions that come up in the course of what I'm doing, put them on into the chat window and we'll make sure we come back to them. I'm not going to take questions on the fly, if you know what I mean. So the questions and stuff I'll answer at the end. Chances so often are, where is the answer to that question? It's on the next slide, right? So that comes up sometimes. And what we're describing here is based on my upcoming book, Prescription for a Crisis, right here. So there'll be a little bit about this. I don't want to steal the thunder of the presentation, but I could entertain you for a moment. What do you think about that? Because we really should be doing this in a nice, safe way. Don't you agree? We could decide we're more of a Pink Floyd fan, if you know what I mean. So I'd like to know in the chat window where you're from. If you don't mind, just show me what's kind of going on, where you're from. I'd like to see, I may know someone in your town. Chances are pretty good I do know someone in your town. We're a couple minutes away, minute and a half away or so from starting here, but Minneapolis. All right, hey, Minneapolis. Anyone from Denver? Anybody? Anyone been to Denver? No. That's unusual. Usually Denver's something that gets people going a little bit. I live there. I lived in Colorado and Denver for 20 years, and you can count on my being back there again soon. In fact, I'll be there in a couple weeks. All right. So to benefit everyone who got here on time, I'm not going to wait for folks who are not. So let me share my screen a little bit, and we'll talk about the presentation. So I'll share and I'll share and I'll share. Here we are. I'll stop my video while we go along. So I guess we can start from the top, huh? What do you think? So this Prescription for a Crisis presentation is really based around LinkedIn. And I added Facebook and email because that's what I do and what I use in my internal operations and with my closest friends, and you're amongst my closest friends now. So when I talk about this environment out here, I'm talking about it coming from a LinkedIn expert side. I'm not the Facebook expert, I'm the LinkedIn expert, but as you'll see, I know a little bit about both. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've done a lot of trainings. I've got a lot of connections. All this means is that the things that you might interpret and see out there, chances are I've already seen them and mapped a way around them, a better way of doing things, as you might say. So in my Facebook world, I'm equally big on the network side there, but I don't do the active, cool stuff you'll see today as much on Facebook. I integrate Facebook in with my LinkedIn activities, and I'm recommending that you do that as well. So my first LinkedIn book, 2010, my second LinkedIn book, 2015, got a new one here, and I showed it to you if you got here earlier. So we do all of the things here in this presentation in the book, and there's a 5-page download that has the prescription formula that you can get at the free site at the end here. So I pick LinkedIn because frankly, half of America is on LinkedIn, and you know, that's where people share their business life. I'm in the B2B world for the most part. Facebook is where you have the B2C world. even more folks involved. So my book is based on that, and this presentation is based on this principle of those two big networks doing really great things for you. So first of all, you got to modernize to get going. Before we get into the cool stuff, we've got to get ready. We got to dress the part, put a little lipstick on, you might say. We have to modernize. And that means here that we need to improve our profile specifically for this activity. Everyone always needs a great profile, but there's things we need to focus on in our profile to take advantage of the cool stuff in the book. All right. So it starts by making sure that what you have is current. Brad changed it, finally. I'm just kidding. Brad's a great client, but he had that headline up on the left, up well after when he was working with the company. No longer. So you get a chance to tell your story in your profile, and storytelling has never been more important. Never been. And there have never been more storytellers. So your storytelling needs to be better than average, if you know what I mean. So it starts with your photo, and here's Charlie. And Laura Brandt found Charlie for us here. Notice his head is a little cocked there, and that's a cool effect. But if that effect is not right for you, you can change that in LinkedIn. And there's a bunch of other filters and other things out there that are really great. More stuff added all the time. Right? So that's the single most important thing. Frankly, if you don't get much more out of the presentation than that, make sure that this is what you do. Make sure, see how much space there is around his head? That's about the right framing. Next, and this is important when people actually get to your profile, is they're going to see a header image, a banner image, a background image. It's got a lot of different names. You might do something for the firm. You might have a locational element to it. This is something I do for folks when I get them started up at first until we do something else. We find a skyline of the town. Or you might do some cool stuff, and you can get cool stuff already with the right dimensions at Pixabay and at Canva. It's amazing. It's just amazing what you can do. And you can literally grab and go. It's not going to take you 5 minutes to open an account, get something like that, and put it in place. 10 tops if you're picky. The text that matters the most in your profile, especially now, are these items. It's your about and summary section. That's where you tell your story. How did he get to here? You've heard this stuff before. Your work experience, your current work experience, the current job you have. The older jobs don't matter so much. Basic profile stuff. Here's the part where it comes into play the most, though. Here's your extra secret for being on the webinar. All right? It's the first 150 characters or so of each that people see. You don't have to polish the daylights out of everything. You got to make the first step, the first bunch that shows before you see the see more button. That's what you got to do. Okay. Then it'll just slow after that. But you know how it is. You look on your phone and you see your connection requests coming in, or you see you're looking at somebody somewhere, and this is what matters, what they see, without having to click. So here's Laura. Look at the headline there. Do you see that? See the headline? Do you see how the headline shows in a message or a connection request? That's on the browser. You get even less of that when you see it on a phone. So I've got videos on my site here that talk about profile optimization, where we go deeper into this. This is where the game is won now. It is. It's done in the preview, the flyby. This is the most important stuff by far, the picture and the headline and how it shows. And this is how it is. This is how you look, or is this how you look? This is fully under your control. There's a lot of things on LinkedIn that are not fully under your control. Okay. The things that are the things you have to optimize and take hold of. And if I give you the blueprint like this, you can do this. You can make it better. We've got a nice little guide that'll show you some tricks and some optimization, like the fit in and stand out principle. Your profile looks good because it's complete. It doesn't look empty. It doesn't look like there's typos. It makes sense, but it looks better than the other folks. It stands out. You see the little all caps or the little squiggly things. I like the ski diamond. If you see a ski diamond in a profile, it might be a client of mine. All right, so what are we going to do next? This is the prescription. That was just getting ready. Okay, that was just getting ready. At this point, I'll actually stop for a moment and ask if you do have any questions about profiles or about getting started, add them into the chat window. Let me see if you have any questions about the stuff I talked to you, because we'll stop a few times along the way. Like right now, profile stuff isn't so fun, but it is really necessary. Yay, all right, we don't have any profile questions. Here's your prescription. We're going to use the principle of friends, empathy, and barter to get what we need and to help others get what they need. We'll use these 3 platforms to do it on. The prescription is kind of the same for everyone who's got a runny nose, but everyone's unique and they all get finally, in the end, something that's kind of specific to you. So when I say friends, this is what I mean. In this case, these are folks you know. Okay. And know means that there's part of this know, like, and trust score. These are folks that you know. All right. You're not a stranger. Your name doesn't mean nothing. There's a brand, you could even say, if you wanted to get fancy in the world of marketing and all. But that's really not what this is about. This isn't about marketing. This is about folks that you know, and specifically folks you know on LinkedIn, where we start with existing connections and then we'll make some new ones. All right. Still, only folks you know. We're going to look at your Facebook. We're going to look at your friends on Facebook. We're not going to be building your Facebook network here. That's not part of it. We will be building your LinkedIn network, but not your Facebook network here. It's used for research. And your email contacts are going to get pulled into LinkedIn to be part of this here. But we're not going to be doing email here. This is LinkedIn centric with these 2 add-ons. All right. So our purpose really matters. Purpose is a big word. All right. So what is your purpose? Your purpose is to help people, to be empathetic to people, and let that come back to you. That's what this is about. This is not about sales and marketing. It gets done here, but that's not what it's about. Empathy is about understanding somebody else without them having to lay it all out. You get them, and you know when to chime in and when to listen. Empathy is about having feelings for people that are different than you are. And you see that in all the stuff we've seen in the social space out here. Okay, and I live in Minneapolis, so empathy is a really big word here. So empathy is about wants and needs. People need things. People want things to make their life better. And times like now is when there's a prescription for how to do this that I'm going to share. How to help you get what you want and need, and how to help them. There's different buckets of wants and needs. Our family has issues. A lot of folks have kids going off to school right now, or they might be going to school. They don't know if they're going to school. That's a huge issue. Huge, huge. Do you know folks that have lost their job like I have? They've got financial issues. So this principle here works across all of these platforms. It's really important for us to be heartfelt in both the message that we use, because we're going to be sending some messages, and in the conversation we have afterwards, the empathy stuff, this stuff here in action right here. So let me guide you through the process, because just putting 2 people into a room without something to guide and talk about doesn't always lead to the best results. Having a plan on what to do always matters. So here's part of our plan. The goal Go in with a goal, go in with the end in mind, as they say. Our goal is to satisfy wants and needs on each side. I get something that I can benefit from, and so do they. The word barter is maybe a little more businesslike. We call it scratching each other's backs. Okay. And it's not tit for tat. It's highly asymmetrical. Sometimes the getting your return happens later on. Sometimes you just get it all right now and you go like, I want to help you, but we ran out of time on the call. Can I do that next? But you don't know what anybody wants or needs unless you ask. You got to start the conversation. You got to cue it up. Right? And they're not going to know what you need either. This is the share part. You know, I've been looking for this, this, and this, and, you know, Jackie needs that, and the kids are this, and the car is that. You know, you start with theirs first, but then when you share yours, they'll go back and share more of theirs. It goes back and forth. It's a conversation. It's not one side and the other. It's not the defense and the prosecution. Think in terms of bang for the buck. What do you need the most? What would help you the most? And what would help them the most? Start with the most bang for the buck. Either eventually or at the very beginning. You may not have any ideas. What ideas are there? Well, if you don't have any ideas, you might say, hey, do you know anybody? Can you introduce me to somebody? Do you know someone who blank out there fills one of my wants and needs? Someone that I can help with their wants and needs with what I have. Could you maybe like a post or share something I do? Everybody can do this because we're connected on LinkedIn or Facebook. You know, it's very easy to ask somebody and it's very easy to get a yes answer. Be happy to do that. In the end here, people want somebody to talk to, and who knows where it leads? Who knows where it's going? But that's what happens at the end here. Much happiness in this program. So we're planting seeds. We're not planting trees. That's not a seed for a tree. It's more like this. More like this. So how long does it take to grow that? Well, it takes a few months. So this is not the, here's the next year program or idea or anything. This is COVID time, or this is whatever time it is. This will be valid even during non-COVID times. You'll come back to this. So the action plan is this. We got to start somewhere. We'll start right here. We'll start with folks we know. In LinkedIn, we'll say, hey, those folks are LinkedIn connections in Minneapolis, where I'm at. That's a good place to start. Within that group, there's specific people out there, right? This isn't about everybody out here. This is about being selective, because not everyone you're connected to, not everyone connected to, do you know? Do you agree? So here we go. So there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook. Facebook has something similar. It's called Current City. Current City. Okay. So Current City and Friends is just like this. Two different networks. This is maybe more business-like. This is more personal. But they're two distinct areas, and I have quite a bit of crossover between them. You can imagine with 30,000 connections and 5,000 Facebook friends. There's quite a bit of crossover. But I'm in the business, all right? So we're going to find folks. Our database is on LinkedIn and Facebook for the most part. We'll show you later where the database comes from email as well. So on LinkedIn and Facebook, just because we find them there doesn't mean that's where we're going to communicate with them. LinkedIn is the database. Facebook is the database here. But if we're already text messaging somebody, we're WhatsApping, we got a Skype conversation going, that's the place to have this conversation about re-engaging. Re-engaging, that's what this is about, with folks we know. So it's not LinkedIn to LinkedIn, that's just a database. Think about it that way. Okay. We'll engage them over whatever platform is most appropriate. So there's more to it though. There's folks that you should be connected to. Gosh, how did it not happen on LinkedIn that we didn't connect somewhere over this time frame? So that's where email comes into play. Chances are pretty good that we'll pick up a lot of folks in our Outlook or our Gmail that qualify here. And it's super simple to do this. I can get you to the list in 5 minutes. 4. If you dare me, I could do it in 3 minutes to get you to a list where you could do this. You find it, LinkedIn matches up your email to who it knows on LinkedIn. You pick who you know from the list. You click a button to add them. They still have to accept, but this is mass invitations with no message at all. No message at all. You only do this with, like I said, folks you know. All of this is folks you know. There's a part here that's folks you don't coming up. All right. Other folks you know might exist in your business card collection. Do you agree? In this case, you've got to find them one at a time. You may also have other people that you care about that come to mind. Don't have their business card, but they come to mind. So we have to find them one at a time. And when we do, we're just going to connect to them with just the connect button. Connect and go. There you go. No message. Just connect and go. Remember, they already know you. We don't have to tell them why. But we get new connections from this. And the new connections we get from this are easy to find. They're in chronological order under your My Network tab right there. This is where you send the thanks for connecting, Rich, Bill, thanks for connecting messages off. Now these messages, remember I talked about a heartfelt message and all, remember? There's your link, by the way, if you just don't want to take 2 more clicks, if you know what I mean. So these folks are going to get a message from us, but before we do, we want to see what they're doing on LinkedIn. Do a little research. We want to do the same on Facebook if we can. If you're already friends, of course, if it's a John Anderson, it's harder to find, but Rick Knipchenitsky is not too hard to find on Facebook. All you're doing on Facebook is trying to see what's going on in their life. You're not going to say anything. They're not going to know you were there. It's free and clear. It's just free business intelligence information to put you in the mind of the person you're going to talk to here. You're going to send a message to. So you send a LinkedIn message to the folks you're already connected to, new connections you just made here. Not everybody, kind of skip through them. And when you do, we've got a template message you'll create like in a Google Doc or in Word. And then that business intelligence I mentioned, what you might find from LinkedIn, from their website, from their posts, from Facebook. Put that in here as part of your template message. You get great credit for it. Sometimes you'll even put some custom stuff that's specific to them right at the very top. That's a trending thing. It doesn't template so well, but it's a really trending thing. So wherever it is here, they're going to see this. Okay? But some of these folks are really busy. Are you busy in this category? Hey, if you're really busy, put your name in the chat window. Show me you're paying attention if you're really busy. Because I might turn this presentation around just a little bit in the chat window if you're really busy. All right, here we go. Busy. Expect this. Expect this to happen. People are just not going to see it. Half of the folks are not going to see it, but half are. Okay, that's about what to expect. So if you reach out to 100 people, which might be the right amount of people, you might get 50 responses, might get 40 or so conversations going. How good is that? If you sell insurance, that's pretty good ratio, I think. So people are going to respond. It's going to happen. You have your heartfelt message. They know you. You're a good person. Didn't do anything wrong. Your profile looks good. Everything. And when they respond, we need to respond back. It's like ping pong. All right. It comes over here. It goes over there. throw the fish back, right? Back and forth. In our response, we need to make sure that we acknowledge what they said in their message. There's a clue in their message that says, oh, Mike, thanks for thinking of me. You know, Sue did lose her job at Carlson Travel, but she's having interviews and stuff. Well, here it's thanks for sharing with me about the plight of Jen and or Jackie or whoever it was and jobs and stuff. You know, I'm sorry to hear about that. There's empathy in this sentence I'm writing. Empathy. That's where it comes into play. You're wondering, where does empathy come into play? Right here. Now, what I described is how to take advantage of your existing network, people you already know. We looked at LinkedIn. We did some Facebook investigation. By the way, you're welcome to message folks on Facebook. You're welcome to message them, okay? Just beware if you do that, if you message folks on Facebook, that you want to make sure that your posts don't conflict with their kind of posts. If you lean left and they lean right or vice versa, it's best not to communicate on Facebook. We're just generally using Facebook as an investigative tool here. But there are times where you might actually go right out and communicate on Facebook. But we're going to step out from this. There's a time that's coming and we all want to be upbeat. We've also already sold everybody we already know or tried to. So we got to find some new folks. I'm in Minnesota. We call this hunting season. Got to put some more venison in the freezer, if we say. That means hunting. So now I'm going to talk about how when we're hunting here, how we're going to be able to find some new folks, okay? The folks you know principle is put off to the side. These are strangers. They don't know us. They're second and third level connections. We previously been doing first level connections. All right, so we're going to call it campaigns. That's the official term. I've been doing this for 5 years. I know probably more about it than just about anybody you've ever talked to, and maybe anybody you ever do talk to. So this is what happens in a campaign. Basically, we've got a target list, a really great search that we do. We've got messages that are specifically for them. I was just on calls with clients this morning. We've got veterinarians, the veterinary category for targets, people who own veterinary built businesses. And we've got messages about being a dog or a cat owner that go out to them into a campaign. Replace what I said with what I said with something else, and you got another campaign. So the most common thing in a campaign is this. We find new people, fancy ways to find new people. We're going to send them invitations to connect. That invitation is specific to those people. Different invitations, different folks. Okay, very matched up. That's the key to success, one of them. And a dressed up profile that looks really great. You'll get some folks connect, and connect rates are in the 10 to 20% range on average. 10 to 20% on average. They're down during COVID. Down, actually. So you got to do a better job at targeting smaller markets with specific messages and a better profile to make that happen. So after folks connect, we'll send a message or two, do some messaging afterwards, and lo and behold, when they respond, we're going to respond back. You do all this stuff so you get responses. That's why. So let's go over targeting. It's the first element to this. This is where I'm really, really having fun. In a LinkedIn search, we're going to target folks we're not connected to, maybe in certain industries, and at certain areas of the country, certain titles. You can do this on the free or LinkedIn premium account. This is what a search would look like to find some decision makers. Now, Sales Navigator goes a lot further. And this is the reason that a lot of folks find Sales Navigator is the gotta have. The folks I'm calling are too small. Folks I'm calling are too big. They're too this or too that. The head count filter is really important. Okay. These other filters also come into play, and we dice and slice these for each client a little differently. But in the end, we get really precise, and you should as well. If you can put Sales Navigator into action, you can see how you would find more of the people you want and less of the people you don't, if you can use this sort of approach. And this is only in Sales Navigator. So there's another way to sell. There's another way to sell. And let me stop for a moment before I get into this and just ask, are there any questions with this approach to reaching out to people you know? Are there any questions reaching out to people that you don't know? And our program is being recorded. It is being recorded. So let's move along. We're going to go with this extra approach here. So there's a different way to do things. It's a targeted approach for companies first. Okay, our company first approach is one where we're going to look at the company and then we're going to find the people there. We're going to have a list that we look at. Usually it's a target list. My favorite target list is the book of lists. That's my favorite one, the book of lists. And the book of lists has the top 100, and all these different categories. So that's the reason alone a lot of people get that. And as soon as that book of lists comes out, you go for it. You don't wait for another day or week. You go for it because everyone else is doing that. At least everyone who's been in my training is doing it. You can do searches on companies out there as well. It's not as good. Some of the filters don't work quite so well, but you can literally find a search that will list companies first. And then you follow this approach. You should follow the engagement approach. That is this essentially to find the companies and then find the people within them. That's the approach. Find the companies and then find the people within them and do your outreach there. You can't reach out to a company. Can't invite, can't follow, that kind of stuff. You can follow, but you can't invite, you can't create a relationship. It comes down to people. So there's our targets. Remember our little zipper picture showed targets, and now it's going to show messages. Okay. The messages you need to do one of these outreach campaigns are these two messages. Put them in a Google Doc. Put them in a Google Doc. Page 1, connection request. Page 2, your welcome message. Why you want to connect, what you can do for them. It's storytelling, once again. So we've got our inputs, we've got our search, we've got our list, we've got our targets, as we call it. We've got our message that's specific for them. And that's repeatable, different message, different targets. So the different campaign types, we're going to look first at our existing network. Okay. This is part of, remember our folks you know principle? These are folks you don't know in your existing network. Okay. In fact, you want to specifically exclude folks you know. If you know them, you skip them here on these lists. All right. Skip right past them. Generally speaking, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be looking at folks you don't know that are not connections, brand new folks. On a phone environment, this would be called cold calling. So the methods of doing this is manual. You can send these connection requests and messages manually. And the more you do this, the better manual. It takes time. You could start with templates. Great search. I can help a lot with how to do things manually. The things I showed you here. Replay this recording. This recording will mean a lot to you. There's a way to automate things. And you've seen these messages that look like they're sent by a bot. And they are. I work with this as well. Or the cool part where the game is really won today is knowing when to do what. A little bit of both. All right. Customize where you can. Automate where it makes sense. That kind of stuff. So here's an example. You invite someone to connect, and they do. All right. Send a message afterwards. And that message is very specific to them if you can. Okay. This part might be automated or systemized, but this is not. This is a really great message. You might even continue on and on and on and on. But it's this part right here. That's the basic campaign. Invite to connect, send a message afterwards, strike up a conversation. Who knows, maybe more. When people respond, we have a similar approach. But now for responders, we want to qualify them a lot more. We might have spent a moment or a glance before to decide if they were worth connecting. That's done in bulk. All right. This is not. when someone responds, we're going to spend at least 5 minutes. We'll look at their message to see if there's a clue in there, like, oh, Jackie lost her job, or if they're less personal people, it's we're consolidating two offices. Who knows what's in the message? You got to look and see. And like I said, they're hot, warm, and cold. Hot ones, you know what to do. Warm ones, you got to look a little bit more at, because you can skip through a warm one. Thanks for sharing. You don't owe them a response. But if they say something specific to you, you got to respond, even if you don't like them. That's just how social works. You got to respond. You could say, I'm not interested. Don't want to date you. All right. In their profile, you're going to look for something in common, something they might have posted you could say something about, something noteworthy. A company page will show you who else is on the team. That's a great one. Who else is on the team? And then you look at the website and see who they sell to and whatever information you couldn't find elsewhere there. 5 minutes per responder, maybe a little more. Same sort of message principle of saying something that you learned. I see that. Look, what I showed you where to look. I see that. And this is not a bad idea to have a calendar link on these sort of things. I do that. I love my calendar link. They like calendar links. People kind of expect that now. But this would be for folks that are definitely hot, and for folks that just said, like, thanks for sharing or something, because you found out something. Okay, you found out something about them that you didn't know before, because you didn't take 5 minutes before. You glanced and maybe made a quick judgment. Somebody's going to do this work, and it generally falls to the user. In fact, the user has to kind of start this. You got to know what's going on, but you can get some help. If you have an assistant, a lot of this work can be done by an assistant. These lists can be created, especially if you got Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator and assistants go really well together. I work with assistants of my clients all the time to teach them how to make your life, the boss, easier. We're a vendor, and I work with assistants. We work with technology, okay? And we do the right mix of it all. I just advise you on what to use, or who knows, sometimes you need a little more help, okay? So I've got free do-it-yourself stuff here for you, and you really should do this. You'll get a recording of this presentation, but there's an earlier version of it at the site that I'm going to show you. There's one link for all of it. There's a great 5-pager here that walks you through this process. It's got pictures in it and stuff. It's got pictures. And the presentation goes nicely with it. I told you about the profile guide. We've got a guide for Sales Navigator as well. We've got a white paper for campaigns that talks about this stuff, the different components and elements of it. We've got inbox tips, because your inbox is going to get kind of busy. It is. How do I find the things and keep track of things? For example, if you're using LinkedIn.com, you keep track of important messages by putting them in a spreadsheet, a link to the message in a spreadsheet. In Sales Navigator, you add it to a list. Another reason you might like Sales Navigator if you're going to crank this up a bit. There's lots more stuff out there. I'm just going to kind of tell you my favorites. These are my greatest hits. So I do coaching for individuals. They tend to be business owners. And coaching programs, are measured in the thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind. And do work with sales teams. Really great with teams as well. You can imagine how the targeting might work in a coordinated environment across the sales team. There's quite a bit of planning up front for that to handle the targeting and all. And then we do this campaign stuff actually for people, done for you, done with you, migrating to your assistant over time, whatever's in your best interest. So this is where we take it. This is where you can find the stuff. All right, this is where you can get to everything, including booking a call. All the things I mentioned, all right there. So if you think LinkedIn and Sales Navigator and campaigns and stuff and getting a hold of your friends and stirring up business might be right for you, well, maybe that's true. Maybe this can work for you. So it isn't for everybody. This kind of stuff is for folks who have first of all, they have wants and needs they need filled. It's very specific about that. Wants and needs. Do the right thing with it. Spread the love about this. I'm just here to help. But if you want more customers, if you want to get more funnel activity, the stuff at the end is really good. And that's where you might especially want to book a call with me if you can. Okay. So I'll put the screen up. Well, you have the screen up there, and when you get the recording, there you go. Maybe I can help you. Who knows? But the stuff we do here will help your life and your career a great deal. That better job, that better deal, that better apartment, that better whatever is probably buried in people that you already know. Okay? So keep that in mind. Folks you already know, and then breed off to the other people. So I'm going to shut her down here unless anyone's got some questions. I answered a few along the way, and I had Laura answering some of your questions along the way as well. So thanks for being a part of this, all of you. And let me see who we got here. So Barbara, did I address your questions? Was that cool? Did I handle it for you? Dale, Daniel, Diane, Jay, Stephen, Tom, any of the others here? Did I answer your questions? Is that what you wanted to know? Good, great. All right, so you get access to the recording and stuff as you asked about. And if I can help you, hallelujah, let's do it. Talk to y'all later, all right? Bye-bye.